Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thank you so much for checking us out today. And if you're not subscribed, you know the drill. Please hit that subscribe button. We put out a brand new interview every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 interviews a week. And today it's one of my all-time favorites. I'm speaking with the Cranberries. I've got Noel and Ferg here to talk about, I guess, is the 25th anniversary of No Need to Argue, which was actually last year was the 25th anniversary, but the 25th anniversary edition coming out this year. Hi, guys. It's great to have you here.
Hey.
Hi, Kyle.
Hey, hi.
So I guess I should ask, what was the holdup? Because we're not officially on the right timeline here, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a bit earlier this year, but then the whole COVID thing affected the release and all that, because we kind of had it ready for, well, I suppose towards the end of last year we were finishing off everything, and it was ready to go. You know, I think we were planning around summertime this year, but the old lockdown scenario and all that. Then it was due to release in September, and now it's put back to November, I believe.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there, and that's the important thing. And it's such a fun collection to listen to. I mean, so you've got the remastered record, and I want to bring up my notes here so I'm not missing anything here, but the B-sides, Away and I Don't Need, So Cold in Ireland from the original tapes. There's some demos, some live cuts on here. And one of the live cuts, I was going to ask about this too, because it's an MTV Unplugged in New York, and but it's only one. Has there been anything of keeping you guys from releasing that whole thing, or is it just like that's the one we like?
Well, that particular song was never on anything. We literally, I think we only ever played it that one time. We kind of wrote it a day or two before it, rehearsed it with the string section, played it, and then forgot about the song forever. So all the other tracks on there, obviously, you know, we played many, many times. So I don't really know. Ferg and I spoke about this a week or so ago about, you know, how come we never recorded it or played it again, and it just seemed to get lost somewhere along the way. So this is really, as far as we know, I think the only actual recording of it. So we figure we might as well put it on something at some time. And we did a kind of an acoustic album. Was it about 6-7 years ago, Ferg, I think?
Yeah.
So roughly, but that was kind of,
maybe?
yeah, was it so, you know, that was kind of, I guess, a more modern version of that Unplugged thing, and we released that, and we kind of didn't really see the point of releasing the MTV one then, because we kind of did our more modern, up-to-date version of it as well. But you never know, you know, what happens with things down the road.
Yeah. Well, it's out there now, thankfully. It's a lovely song. And it fits in. I mean, of course, it fits in a time and place and a picture here as we're painting with this record, No Need to Argue, which was technically your guys' sophomore album as the Cranberries, kind of, you know, with the history, the way it's laid out in the band names and lead singers and all of that stuff. They say you got your whole life to write that first album. For a lot of bands, that means the second record, you're up against the wall and time. I never got the sense when I look back and I read the history of this record that it felt like that for you all. Was that the case?
No, it wasn't, because there was kind of 2 years between the albums. I know the release date of the first album was pushed back a bit, so that meant we kind of had more time to prepare the second album. And we were kind of, I suppose, on a high because the first album was doing well and we were touring a lot, but we'd work out songs at sound check, and you know, everything was flowing really well. Everyone was in creative spirits, and it just kind of happened really easily. Didn't feel any pressure or anything like that. We were just, I suppose, in our early 20s. We were really young and full of energy, and you know, just enjoying being on tour, because we had, you know, toured a good bit before the success kind of kicked in, you know, and it was quite a slog. And then when we started getting successful, it was kind of, you know, a big buzz, and everyone felt like we deserved it because we had worked so hard previously to that, you know. And yeah, we spent maybe 2 years touring the first album, and then, writing at sound checks and stuff, and everyone, Noel and Dolores would come in with ideas, and everyone kind of just pitch in, and we'd record, get the sound man to record some of the ideas we had, and then the Magic Shop sessions that are on this box set, that was in the middle of a tour. We had maybe 5 or 6 days off in New York. Stephen Street was free at the time. He came over, and we did those demos. I think there was 5 songs we did, and they sounded great. So we ended up using parts of those on the actual album itself.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially hearing you guys talk about how, a lot of these songs were road tested, that you were able to kind of play them. When you put them in front of the crowds back then, were you still working on them? I mean, were the audience hearing those early versions of the songs that made this? Were they hearing what ended up being sort of the final ideas, or was it still a lot of tweaking that went along?
It was a work in progress the whole time. There's I heard when we were getting the stuff ready for the first album, a lot of live stuff started coming up that I hadn't heard before, and there's a really early version of Zombie. And I didn't actually realize how old Zombie was. So I heard this. It was one of our kind of earlier gigs, but the lyrics are different. Now the Zombie part is the same, but the verses. So there would be things like that, and we'd be kind of getting the feel from each other as well, kind of bouncing. Like Ferg would do a push here, so the band would react to that as time went on, or Mike might add in something, or. So we all, you would kind of look at each other and go, yeah, that works, this doesn't. We had songs that we put into the set that were like a disaster. I mean, no, never again. That was a bad idea. And we just forget about them, or kind of Frankenstein them up and use the verse later on for a chorus and another song and things like that. But I mean, in general, we used to love, we get a new song and just put it in the set that night, even if we don't really know it properly. And some songs like that, like Zombie would have been a perfect example. Straight away, no one really knew the song, but people just went crazy the minute you started playing this. So by the time we went in to do the album, we were probably the tightest we kind of were before or after that, I think, because we had toured so much that we were able to just go through these tracks like really quickly. And we also were in with Stephen again, and that awkwardness of getting to know a producer was gone. So it just it all clicked very quickly. And definitely that couple of years of touring made a massive difference to us. And we were more confident as well.
Yeah. There was a quote you reminded me of, like Tom Petty had said at one point about how bands, when they were coming up and everything, like you had... like to even get in the studio, your songs had to be ready. And so you'd practice them out on the road a lot, to kind of get it there. And of course that's not so much the case these days, but I like going back and finding that like that was a thing, because even once you started the tour for No Need to Argue, once the album was out and you did the tour, you were already road testing the songs for the next record on top of that. Like when I look back at those set lists, like I Just Shot John Lennon was on there and Joe was on there. I mean,
yeah,
what an interesting way to write, because you're sort of writing it in front of a live audience in that way. Or did it ever feel like that?
Yeah, we were just excited because, we'd kind of spend maybe 3 or 4 sound checks going through a new song idea. And we'd be excited about it then, because, when something is new and fresh like that, you're kind of going, oh, great, can't wait to hear the reaction to this one. And the fact that you are playing it live, you're way more focused during a gig than you would be in a rehearsal room. You're extra focused for a gig and the adrenaline is pumping and all that. So you will play it differently in front of an audience. So that really kind of helped kind of fine tune things, I think, and hone little bits. You'd be, definitely more focused and more on edge and kind of aware of everything.
Yeah. Hearing about how the Zombie did go back that far, though, like, of course, when you read the reviews at the time, every review back in '94 will talk about how it was a much heavier version of the Cranberries than the first record. It's a much darker version of the Cranberries. And I thought for the longest time, maybe that was a reaction to what was happening musically in the world post Teen Spirit or something, But I don't know. I guess I don't get that sense in that way. If it kind of traces a little bit back further than that, I mean, did it feel like it to you all? Because again, that seemed to be the critics' thing, like darker, heavier. Did you all get that sense yourselves, though? You know, having been the ones who wrote the songs.
Well, that song is definitely, you know, it's obviously heavier than well, probably all the songs on this album. But if anyone had come to see us live, it was night and day. I mean, when we started, we tried to do what we did in the studio live, and it did not translate at all. It was, you know, we used to kind of use a lot of effects in the studio, a lot of reverbs and delays, and then we'd be very dry and no distortion or anything live, and it just always sounded very empty. And then it was around the time the Doors came with Zombie, because, you know, we were kind of playing it a certain way, and she's like, oh, it's got to be heavy, it's an angry song. And suddenly, you know, Ferg's playing heavier, I went off, bought a distortion pedal. And next of all, it was like, oh, we can be heavy and still have melody and not be like, you know, I think we kind of thought heavy means like heavy metal kind of thing. And then you did have the kind of the grunge thing was starting to come along as well, and you soak all that kind of stuff in as well. So I think the combination of all these things just kind of lined up to suddenly, you know, people were going to the gigs going, and that's a good bit different than album version. But in some places it was better even. You know, there's songs there that have kind of, I guess, you know, evolved over the years that, like, I think like a song like Ridiculous Thoughts, the album version and the way we would have played it, particularly the last 10 years, they're night and day. It's a completely different song live. It's really heavy, way longer. You know, you do all these things that you can get away with live. I think the album version suit a studio recording, but it just needed, you know, it needed to be taken to another level live.
Yeah. I'll hit on that track one more time too, because Zombie, that's a song that does carry on today. Over 1 billion views on YouTube, as they say. That puts you in a small group of artists there. What do you like? I know it's sort of a hard question to answer, but why do you think that is? Is it just that it's a catchy song? Because the flip side of this is she's talking about some very heavy politically, you know, wartime things. What does that say today? Do you find that the song still speaks to today in that way?
It seems to be, yeah, even a younger generation has picked up on it, because it's more of a song about the way humans treat each other, you know. That's the core of it. And I think that still goes on in the world. That kind of, those atrocities still happen today, you know, and people can relate to that. And, you know, the song is catchy as well, but there's also that meaning that's there, you know. It's like, you know, what are you thinking acting this way, you know, treating people like this? And you know, I think people can still relate to that. It's very relevant.
Yeah. To me, that's sort of, I mean, that's the crux of a classic song, of the greatest songs. It's, you know, you can have a song very specific, maybe like when Dylan was singing about Hattie Carroll, you know, but that it's so specific, but it still will speak, you know, to the next year and the next year and today eventually. I find a song like Zombie, for the exact same reasons, Ferg, that you're saying right there, do that. But you know, I also would assume, like, as a songwriter, like you're hoping for that.
Yeah, like you don't really think of it when you get a bit, you know, you might get a sequence together and you go, wow, you can kind of tell sometimes this is a single and this is not a single, you know. And then for us, I guess many of our favorite songs were ones that were album tracks that didn't become singles. But I mean, we certainly didn't think, like, you know, Zombie and Linger and Dreams, like they were just songs we had. Particularly like Linger is the very first song we ever had. And I mean, we were really young, 18, 19. You're kids, you think, you don't think about what's going on next year. The mind, you know, 30 years time that people are still going to be singing it. But it is, you know, it's a great feeling, and it's what every band or, you know, every artist would hope for. You kind of have to pinch yourself sometimes that you hear it still on the radio, like played with all the other stuff that's on today. And it's just, it fits in still. And it's great. And I don't think for us it'll ever really sink in properly. it's just a nice feeling to know that we weren't the only ones that liked what we were doing. You know, that there was a lot of other people that got it as well.
It's always an interesting thing. Like musicians, maybe more than anyone else, like you do something great in your teens, as you said, and you're always going to be tied to something that you did in your teens. You're always going to be repeating something that you did. Like, I don't think anybody else has that, you know, and thank God that the songs that you guys did in your teens are just amazing songs because there have been other instances of that as well. So it's, you know, that's really fun. One of my favorites, and you brought it up, it is another single on here, is Ridiculous Thoughts. I went back and for the first time, I kind of sussed through the whole music video fiasco of that. That, you know, there was the original one that you guys weren't exactly happy with, so you sort of Frankensteined it with a live album. I saw the original cut for the first time during the research for this, and I gotta say, just what a beautiful video, though.
Cool video.
Yeah, I'm sure it was different in context at that point, but what was it you guys didn't like about it? Because it's such beautiful pictures that kind of go on through the entire thing.
Yeah, it works with the live bits mixed in, I think. You know, with both, it's good. I think it was Laura's maid that wasn't happy initially until we did the live bits cut in with it, and then she kind of, you know, because I think we had been playing that song in the set a lot, and it sounded a lot different live and felt a lot different playing it live. Always, you know, as the song evolved over the years, it got heavier and heavier, and I think she wanted to try and capture some of that live energy in the video.
And with baby Elijah Wood there, that's
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy.
I forgot about
my daughter was watching Lord of the Rings, and I said, "Oh my God, he's in one of our videos." And then I showed her the video, and she said, "Jesus."
That's fun. And I'll hit quickly with the other single too, because I Can't Be With You, you know, and it's video. What stood out with me is I thought, man, back in the 90s, there was so much angel iconography in music videos. Like if you were going to have a music video, if you're going to have multiple videos, at some point, you're going to have a beat up angel in your video. Why?
Springs to mind there as well, and Nirvana.
Sure. I think a Collective Soul, like one of theirs, had, like there was just, it was like, why? This isn't really a specific question. I'm just like, why was there so many angels in music videos in the 90s?
It was an MTV thing, I bet you. These all directors are watching each other, you know, we get inspired.
Noel, I'll bring up one of the guitar moments on this record that, again, a song I've heard a million times, but I started thinking about in a different light the other night, and it's Eat's Grave. And I was thinking, what is that? Led Zeppelin's no quarter guitar sound? Like, is that the same thing?
I think it was. I got a Vox 12 string from the 60s. I had bought it recently around that time, and as you do with any piece of gear, we got to find a place for that in the album. And then, you know, these things are meant to be. And I was like, Mort, who was our guitar tech forever, he used to go out and find these things and come back. And I was like, get it. I think we probably tried that guitar on every song, but this is the only one it actually worked on. so that's the truth of that. Yeah.
It works. It did work. It worked. It's a cool sound. It's a cool sound for that one.
Yeah, I know it would work somewhere.
Yeah. You know, we were just mentioning cool things in the 90s, how the zeitgeist, and one of the things that makes this album is a cover. And it was the moment when the Carpenters it was very fashionable to like the Carpenters. For good reason, by the way. I like the Carpenters too, but you guys you covered Close to You. And I guess that was for the Carpenters covers compilation that kind of.
If I was a carpenter, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, was that something you all were swept up in, or was that something sort of genuine? Like, man, we do like a few years later, it would be everyone like Johnny Cash. You know, it was kind of one of those things.
No, we all knew the Carpenters. We all knew that song because it was all over the radio when we were kids. Like, and then the request came in. Someone from the record company or management or something said, "There's a Carpenters tribute album. They'd like you to play in it." And then we said, "Well, is Close to You available?" You know, we didn't think it would be, and it was like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, okay, we'll do it then." Great, because that was kind of really the only song we knew, I think, at the time.
And
maybe
what was that?
one or two others.
Was that just a quick session? Was that one of those things where you could kind of jump in for a day and do it?
Yeah, we did it
in London,
Townhouse. Yeah, with
Yeah.
Stephen. I think he had a day off and we had like a day off, and it was very quick.
We did a rehearsal a day before, I think, somewhere, because I remember Nick Cave was there.
Did we do it in Townhouse
Somewhere in
as well?
London.
No, the rehearsal.
No, I don't think so. It was somewhere else. It was some kind of rehearsal space, because I remember seeing Nick Cave there and going, "Oh my God, here's Nick Cave."
It's always those moments. Well, like, we love hearing about those moments. Who else is in the studio with you guys when you're doing these things?
Yeah.
You know. And a friend of mine, this is gonna be a weird story. Walk in on Bob Seger in the bathroom once, accidentally, not knowing he was in. Anyway, that's here nor there. On that one.
Yeah.
Let's bring it up. As far as pop culture goes, too, another one of the B-sides away that's on this compilation that would make it into Clueless. And again, around that time, you know, it was a different song. It was Liar from the earlier sessions that was on Empire Records. But this was, I mean, did you guys kind of feel like you were in a peak pop culture moment as a band at this time, too? I mean, because you're looking, Empire wasn't a big movie then, but it has became a big movie. But Clueless was enormous.
Yeah. You do, again, you're living in the middle of it, so you don't really, you know, you kind of get these kind of things come in. Can we use your song and this and that and everything? And we were like, yeah, sure, you know, and kind of, I guess in many ways, look, that's always been the case. These are kind of things you realize afterwards, like many, many years afterwards. Like I've seen my kids watching Clueless and, you know, that kind of thing now, and you think that's just insane. That's something that, you know, would have been our generation. So it's cool that we get to be part of that whole kind of 90s pop culture, and but we definitely didn't realize it at the time. We were just having too much fun, I think, kind of enjoying the whole ride of it, because I think we were more surprised than anybody at how big the band had become.
Yeah, that's funny. But I know you don't always get the moments to celebrate, because they sort of just come in these small moments. But occasionally, I would think, like, you would go on that year to win the Song of the Year awards, right, at the MTV Awards. Like, is that one of those moments where you get to go, okay, we can take this in?
Yeah, I don't know, really. It's just, award ceremonies are funny things, like, you know, they're just a bit of fun, you know, a kind of a night to relax and have a few drinks and just enjoy yourself, and celeb spot, you know. We were kind of going, oh look, there's George Michael, or, you know, met the guys from U2 that night. That was our first time meeting them, I think, and they were really nice.
I think that's one of the things we would have assumed would have already happened by then. Like, yeah, of course, Cranberries have met U2 by that point.
Everyone thinks that because we're Irish. Like,
right.
You live down the street, don't you, from Bono?
They tour more than we did, like, at the time, so we'd never see them. They were always on the road.
Yeah. Like in Louisville, if you live in Louisville, you've probably met My Morning Jackets and White Reaper and Houndmouth. You know, they're all around.
That kind of thing, yeah.
Bonnie Prince Billy's at the grocery store. He really is. Yeah. He's over there. It is one of those things. I wanted to ask about one of the live shows really quickly, too, because it's also became a bit infamous, and that's at Washington, D.C. This would be the moment that the Cranberries started a riot. Fair to say?
Crazy. Well, we didn't start it. The crowd started it.
Yeah.
We were actually playing Linger, I think.
We're innocent.
But they all start pushing through, and we're like, Jesus, what's going on here? Calm down, people, calm down. Then our crew guys kind of came on the stage and said, lads, you got to go.
Yeah.
So we just jumped in the van. We're bemused by the whole thing. And we're kind of looking out the windows going, what's going on with these people?
So,
you know, I don't know.
So you weren't on the grounds when it really went bad? Were you guys already gone by that point?
Yeah, I think so. Were, yeah. It was just starting to, and you know, when you kind of get that kind of bad feeling in the air that something's not right here. And I think they didn't expect as many people to show up, and they didn't have enough security, and people just started moving forward, and you know, so, but we were kind of whipped out of there pretty quickly. And we were more worried then about, where's our gear? Is it gone? Has it been taken? You know, so, but yeah, that was kind of definitely one of the more bizarre moments of the 90s, I think.
Yeah, it just goes to show that passion that people really do have for the Cranberries, I think.
Yeah.
And also just wanting, people that want to act crazy. There's an excuse, I guess, if you want one. The forgotten moment of this record, I do believe, and it's not, I don't think it is. It's not a part of this this reissue, but I've seen it recently. As I remembered it, is the Doors and Windows PC exclusive. Oh wait, no, you've got to look on your face. I've got to ask about that.
You had to go there. No, that was
Range.
What was that?
The money. I mean, that was just. I had forgotten completely about that until this. They were sending us stuff to kind of look at and go through, and I just. We would never have made it as actors anyway because it's so bad.
It was all. There was a lot of blue screen stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we were. There was a guy there saying, "Okay, reach up and grab this." There would be a door there, and this kind of stuff, and turn around and hand this to Noel. And so we were kind of on a stage with nothing, trying to imagine this big world around us. It was bizarre.
That was a really funny moment, a fun moment, I think, especially now to look back on, because so many artists, you were doing that. PCs and computer culture were such a new thing, and everybody was trying to figure out how to work that in, to the music world. Yeah. And so you'd have all of these artists, yourself included, who would put, CD extras, the enhanced CD-ROM version of whatever to go along with it. And I got to tell you, almost none of them aged well. Like, almost nothing.
Okay, it's not just us then.
It's not just you guys. But if anybody's watching, I do look it up. If you don't know what we're talking about, Doors and Windows, look it up. It's a funny one. This has got to be a question you guys have been asked a million times, and I'll close it out with this, I think, or one of these. But does the sofa still live? Was that eventually just burned? What happened to it?
Some metal band had it. Well, what happened was Supergrass. The band Supergrass?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They had it in their first video for I Should Coco. What's the song? All Right.
All Right. Yeah.
They're on the back of a truck, so it's in that. We spotted it in that, and we went, oh look, because it was from a props place in London somewhere, and then we used it on the first and second album, and then some metal band rented it out and ended up burning it in some video. We heard this from Callie, the guy who was the art director for. He was the guy who got the couch. He was the art director for the first few albums, and he was telling us that some metal band burnt it, and I think threw beer and whiskey in it and then burnt it or something mad like that.
That's a shame. That's
I know.
An icon in itself. No,
there was some award we got actually once, which was like a mini couch, and where the buttonholes would be at the back of the couch were 2 CDs. For no need to argue, it was. Yeah, I still have it. I must take a photo of it.
Noel, last time I talked to you last year, of course we were asking what future held for any of you all, and I will ask that again. Do you see you all playing together in any carnation, whatever it's called, it doesn't even matter, or does the future of the Cranberries exist in these reissues?
Focusing on these reissues really now, and there is the documentary that we've been working on and off with for a long time. I don't know if we spoke about this the last time, but we started, is it 5 years ago, Ferg? We started interviews for what was meant to be a documentary about the band up to the first album and kind of including that era. And then, Dolores passed away. We had done a kind of a few interviews for it and kind of starting to get the ball rolling. And then we put everything on pause. And then, as we spoke about it over the past couple of years, it didn't make any sense to just do those first few years then, to do the full, say, 30 years of the band. So, and I think that's probably the next big thing that we're going to focus on. I think we would have been a bit further down the road with it only for COVID and everything kind of, is on pause with that. But I think we're looking forward to kind of starting that. And it'll be fun to look back on the whole thing, good and bad, and kind of to get other people's point of view as well that were involved during the whole thing. So hopefully, that's going to take a couple of years to do as well, particularly now that none of us know what's going on in the world. But I think that's kind of what we'll focus on next, because these 2 reissues took up a fair amount of time. And of course, we had the release of In the End as well, in the past couple of years. So, there's always Cranberries related stuff, kind of most weeks there's something coming in involving us and then I think no matter how long we all live, that'll probably be the case, there's still an interest there. So I think for the future right now, that's kind of where our focus is on once. And I'm guessing even at this point, it'll be next year, kind of before we can really properly start to look at that again.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wonder. Are we going to be talking about an anniversary edition of The Faithful Departed come next year when it hits its 25th?
We don't know. They weren't actually planning on doing one for No Need to Argue, but then the first one was really successful, and they kind of said, would you like to do one for No Need to Argue? So maybe they will. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, they're fun. As fans, of course, we'll eat this up all the time. Especially...
That's good fun for us as well, going through all the older stuff. It kind of brings back all those memories and picking out good bits. And it's kind of exciting, kind of saying, the fans will like this or whatever.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate all the music that you all done. Thank you so much for, 30 years of music. And to both of you, thank you so much for, going down the rabbit hole with me today and talking about it all. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks a million, Kyle.